Welcome back, everybody. You guys are listening to the Down to the Wire podcast. I'm your host, Brian Costa, and today we have a very special episode for you guys. First of all, I want to welcome in a very special guest of the show. I've had him on before. I was actually on his show yesterday. Our shows are actually going to be airing at the same time. It's actually going to be kind of a very interesting thing, be able to play off one another's. But without any further ado, let me introduce the host of the Pesky podcast, Robert Shelley. Rob, how are we doing today, man?
What's good, everybody, man? I'm not doing too bad. Just spent a couple hours or so out in the 90-degree Tennessee heat, but other than that, we doing good. How you doing, bro?
Dude, I'm doing pretty good. I mean, finally done with finals on summer break. I think this is officially the first episode of me now on summer break. Thank God it's about damn time. And I am just so glad to be done with everything and really just excited for everything the summer presents. I know you just graduated from Dean College. That's got to be pretty
Yes,
wild.
sir.
Just kind of just being done with college life. How's that kind of whole transition been?
Oh, it's not bad. Like, coming down to Tennessee, it's just been a struggle trying to get all my stuff, move it out. But
Yeah.
right now, just looking for a job for the fall, getting some sort of part-time gig for now, looking for a job in the fall. Trying to do all that is the most stressful part. But other than that,
Yeah.
I am enjoying this so much more than being in school.
Oh, me too. I mean, for me, it usually takes me about like a week or two before I can get into like summer brain, if you know what I mean. Like where you kind of finally like take a couple days and you still kind of have like some school stress, even though there are no more assignments. But for me, as soon as I passed in my last assignment, I was like, I'm here. I am checked out completely, and I am so ready for it to be summer. I am very thankful that this crazy semester is over with. But I am excited for it to be able to talk sports and everything with you guys as well. There might be some big announcements coming up pretty soon, which is pretty exciting between us and and some of other colleagues. Don't want to spoil anything yet. Want to maybe test the waters with that though. We'll see how that goes. But before we get into anything sports wise, there was something I like to talk a little pop culture on the show, which for many of my listeners, you'll know that. But something that I kind of caught, and I'm covering this, with the very limited context. I'm basically covering with the context of a Rap TV Instagram post, which if you know those kind of Instagram posts, they're very very just like not detailed at all. But I see a post on Rap TV on Instagram, and it says that apparently some airlines may soon possibly look into weighing passengers before they get on flights. I don't know if you saw about this. I kind of mentioned it to you before the show, but I didn't know if you had heard about this beforehand. First of all, what do you think about this? Because this just sounds absolutely ludicrous to me.
For me, I mean, weight doesn't necessarily it's obviously a big factor, but weight doesn't mean how big you are. Like, you could be
Yeah.
300 pounds but insanely muscular, or you could be 300 pounds and not.
Oh yeah.
So basically, you gotta put the decision in the hands of the passenger. If they are that big, and the reports are saying as um what you're saying is true, the people just need to buy two seats. Okay.
Yeah.
Other than that, like, if I mean, myself, I'm 5'10" and like 160 or so pounds, right? I can
Yeah.
easily fit into one seat. I don't need them weighing me to see my actual weight.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, listen, I don't think that I wasn't really considering it through the idea of getting two seats and doing stuff like this. But the thing that concerns me is just like, we've been flying planes, I'd have to say, for maybe, well over 100 years at this point. What point, what is now becoming such a dire issue that we now that, is it, I mean, frankly, it could just be the idea that passengers nowadays are just carrying so much stuff on planes and people are trying to get, every single carry on a plane. And so, and like, and a lot of stuff has to get stored below the plane. But in my mind, I'm like, how how sketchy are these aircraft that we now have to start taking into effect weighing passengers? I'm like, from what I've heard, I've had a lot of faith in the airline industry. But frankly, if we're weighing people just being like, ooh, we might be pushing it on this one, we might not be able to get off the tarmac. It's just like, what are we doing out here? Like I thought we would have had some pretty significant advancements right now. You're hearing about I know like the Boeing 777 exists, which is like the size of like a luxury hotel. And we're worried about like we're worried about someone who may be pushing like $3 billion. I'm like, I don't know. That kind of just sketches me out because I'm just like, I know we weigh baggage, but like I don't know if like we should be treating everyone as baggage when they get to the airport, especially if I mean, maybe if you're flying Spirit Airlines, frankly, if you're flying Spirit, then maybe you have to take it into effect. I mean,
Yeah.
basically you basically you almost have to bring your own seat when you fly Spirit. You have to
I
kind of bring
mean,
a lawn
no,
chair
you need
strapped
to
down to the floor and hope for the best.
no, you need to pray to the Holy Spirit that you're going to make it to your final destination. All right, that's why they call it Spirit Airlines.
Oh yeah, no, it's always the flip of a coin, and you never know if you're gonna make it or not. You're either gonna be there or you're gonna be lost in the mid-Atlantic.
Yeah, or somewhere around Indonesia.
Oh yeah, Malaysia Airlines. What?
Mhm. But I almost never fly. If I'm going somewhere, I'm just driving. I mean,
Really?
even for school, I had the opportunity. Obviously, last year school got disrupted early because of everything that was going on. We got kicked out of our colleges early. I could have just had my stuff stored up there and taken a plane back here, but I'm like, nah, I'd rather just take all my stuff, take my
Drive it.
car, drive down, and then drive back up instead of taking a plane. It's a lot easier, yes, but I don't mind the extra drive.
Yeah, I mean, if you like doing it, and I mean, unfortunately, right now with gas costing about like $90 to fill up a tank, it's maybe not the greatest time to be doing it. But but when it comes to like flying and stuff, I actually don't mind it. I just know that. But one of the problems that I do have before I fly is that there's like this TV series on the Weather Channel that I used to watch. It's called Why Planes Crash. And it breaks down exactly like what goes wrong in some of like the most famous plane crashes throughout history, and a lot of it frankly is just that is human error, and it's like the pilots in the situation just sucked, and it's just like, I went down instead of up, and it's like, you dumbass, like what are you thinking? But in reality it's but in reality uh sometimes there are critical systems failures, and I just know like if I know I'm traveling coming up, I just cannot watch that show for like a solid month beforehand. I'm just like, all right, I can't watch it because we'll be getting ready for takeoff, and I'll be like, oh yeah, remember that crash? It started off just like this. I'm like, oh boy, I got to get the memories out of my head. I have to, and it's like, it's so unfortunate. I watch like sometimes I've watched like disaster documentaries, like when there's like a hurricane going on. I'm like, huh, interesting. And it's like it's just the worst timing with me sometimes. But sometimes I'll watch those plane crash documentaries or stuff like that, and I'm just like, and then my family will be like, hey, we have a vacation coming up. I'm like, Jesus Christ, like
Absolutely not.
terrible
No,
timing on my case. Yeah, I'm like, I just saw the rudder snap off this Boeing 737. I think I'm gonna pass here.
I think you guys can drive. I'll take a boat. All right.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, then you look into why boats sink, and that's whole it's whole other
No,
problem. I'm joking,
no,
of
let's
course,
not.
but no, obviously that was just something kind of funny that I wanted to cover at the beginning. I thought that was absolutely ludicrous when I heard about this thing going down. But I think it's finally time that we get into sports. And Rob, I got you on because we have a ton of baseball stuff to talk about on the show today. We have some other stuff in football and, even UFC later on today. I was trying to get my UFC analyst, Steve Musher, on the show, but unfortunately you couldn't make it today. But we will be covering that later on. But we start off in the MLB, which is frankly my favorite sport in all baseball, in all sports. I love baseball. And unfortunately there has been, I was actually going to make this episode about Albert Pujols going to the Dodgers. We will cover that after this segment, but something we just saw that it's slowly become kind of more of a controversy as we've seen it. So we talked about it on your show yesterday, which will be coming out at the same time as this one. But Yermin Mercedes, the designated hitter rather for the Chicago White Sox, has kind of come into hot water a little bit because they were playing the Minnesota Twins the other day. And the Chicago White Sox, when I tell you they are beating the brakes off the Twins, like it was a terrible game. Like they were absolutely walloping these guys. And Mercedes comes up to the plate. I think it's 15-4 at this point rather. And they don't even have a pitcher on the mound at this point. It's Willens Astudillo, who is their like backup catcher or so. And this guy, just gets the 3-0 in the count and proceeds to throw an absolute meatball over the plate, which Mercedes takes a yard. And a lot of people have taken exception to this. Rob, I'll let you kind of cover it in a sec, but a lot of people were saying like this kind of brings up the idea of like unwritten rules throughout sports and things like this, and it had its kind of own some people were on the Twins, I guess, were maybe saying it was kind of bush league, but other people, but the big kind of critic of the whole thing has actually been Mercedes manager Tony La Russa. He's actually come out and has kind of been the most vocal about the whole situation. He came out and he said, Mercedes was kind of clueless in the situation. He was a rookie. He didn't know what he was doing. And this has kind of turned into its own thing. And it's even gotten to the point where yesterday, the Twins retaliated against Mercedes because they ended up throwing a pitch kind of behind him, like as a retaliatory thing. They actually didn't throw at him, but they threw behind him in like the 7th inning. And, there was kind of some Tim Anderson kind of got up. He was saying some stuff about it. And it turned into this whole thing where even Tony La Russa comes out after that game where they throw behind his own player, and he goes, I could see where it makes sense. I mean, do you want to talk about this right now? Because I'll go into it. I'll go into it and give my opinions on it in a sec.
Jeez, it kills me, especially because the first rule of a manager is you have your players back, no matter if they're
Absolutely.
Unless they are 1,000% in the wrong, you have your players back. Mm-hmm. That's a first.
Yeah.
Second, most of these rules that we're seeing, these sort of unwritten rules, are going by the wayside. The one real one that will stay and will forever stay is if you throw at my player on purpose, I'm throwing at yours. That's the one on purpose rule that I think will never, ever change. But if you're going to have somebody go out there, and we talked about this on my show, if you're going to have somebody go out there and throw 47 miles an hour, I faced faster than that in Little League. You're asking for a home run derby.
No, yeah, that was the thing. It's not like it was gonna be. I was like, it's one thing if it's like this pitcher just struggling to get through, and it's like another thing if the position player, he's trying to throw strikes, but it's not working. This guy is throwing 47 miles an hour, and for anyone who hasn't played baseball before, like that doesn't even register. Like, you don't even see that in a varsity baseball game. But not
middle
even
school.
A JV baseball game.
Middle school.
Yeah, not even middle school. And probably not even that. Like you still probably have guys at least throwing like 50, 55. Like, if you're only mustering out 47 miles an hour, and when you saw the way he threw this pitch, it, literally was a lollipop pitch into the middle of the plate. And listen, there were some other things going on too. Apparently, La Russa was saying that Mercedes blew past a take sign and didn't do that. Which, if that's the case, that's its own situation because then it's just like because then it's a player maybe not following a manager's command. But from what I've seen it more as, that isn't how La Russa has framed this thing. He's really come out and said, no, it's because we were up by so much. You should kind of respect the game and have some sportsmanship in this situation. And I was in some games where it was blowouts and stuff like that. And we had some teams that were stealing on us when they were up by like 12, and our coach would literally say to the other guys, and it'd be like guys, are we seriously doing this? And it was kind of, and there are times where you're like, this is kind of bush and this is kind of ridiculous. But frankly, when this is all happening, it kind of just makes you go like, I don't know, when it happens on those levels, rather, like you can kind of understand it because it's like, you're not trying to have people's feelings get hurt. You're not trying to have this happen, but you're in the major leagues, God damn it. Like, you're at the highest level of professional sports. Like, I think these guys can take a little bit of criticism, and if guys are hitting home runs, get the damn out. Get a guy in the game who can get you out of the situation. Yeah, I know your bullpen might be tired the next day, but if you're going to be putting a guy in who's throwing meatballs, this is what's going to happen.
No, 100%, man. Like, that's the same thing that I'm saying is, and I said the story on my show, but I'm going to say it again for your viewers. When I was a senior in high school, I was the captain of my high school team. We were getting walloped in this one game, 6-1 or 8-1. I can't remember, but coach, I was never a pitcher in high school, especially in varsity. So he calls me up and he says, yo, can you get me 2 innings just so I could save? Because our pitching depth was very limited. So, like, on a typical day, 7-inning games, our pitchers are going minimum 6. Our starters going minimums. That's how pressed we were for pitchers. So
that's tough.
We only had like 4 or 5 pitchers, and we had a 3-man rotation. Let's see. So
that's
I go in
for high school, though.
Yeah, I go in and I have a 1 inning pitched, and I allowed, by the time I got out, it was 14-1. Do you think when the other team saw me starting to warm up, they said, hey, this guy's worse. We're up by so much. Let's back off the brakes and let's affect our own stats so that they can get out of this game without using their pitchers? Hell, they don't give a damn about you. They give a damn about themselves.
No, yeah. And listen, like here's the thing too, you saw La Russa came out and was criticizing Mercedes for being like they were like, oh, he's a rookie, he's inexperienced, and he goes, he's gonna have to deal with some criticism from within the family. I'm like, okay, man. But here's the thing about Yermin Mercedes this year. This is a guy who's jumped onto the scene relatively out of nowhere. He hadn't played in the majors until 2020. He played one game last year, but really until this year, this guy was a complete unknown. They bring him up because I think of just pure injuries and just needing a guy, and they bring this guy up. And Rob, this isn't a guy who's like hitting like 200, like he's barely kind of making it in, and like he's just trying to do whatever. This guy so far on the year, he's through 37 games of play, he's batting .368 with 25 RBIs and now 6 home runs. So this guy's hitting off the charts. And so like, again, it's not like you're criticizing some guy that's barely like holding on to the roster and like he made an embarrassment of himself. This is one of your key contributors this year, and you're ridiculing him.
You throw him right under
this
the
guy's
bus.
only a couple years out from exactly. And the thing too is this guy's only a couple years out from arbitration. He's only a couple years out before he decides, what terms he wants to get paid under. And when those hearings come up, what isn't going to stop him from going, hey, my manager doesn't have my back. What makes me want to sign here for this amount of money?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, the other thing too is like, it's so frustrating too, because, you see it where he comes out and it's just like, and, this guy, he comes on at 28 years old, like has never had this kind of success like this ever at this level. Like he doesn't know how long this is going to last. He could be a one-hit wonder. Like he could have like an Eric Thames type of start to this year, and we could never hear from him again. So
That's
like,
a name.
he has to take any chance he can get right now and just try to capitalize in every single at bat he has. Because I mean, he's been doing incredible so far, but who knows what happens? Maybe it turns out that he can't hit the high fastball, and then that's just the end of his career. I mean, so right now, for a young guy like this, I don't think Jose Abreu would have done this. I think that Tim Anderson probably would have done this, because I think that's just kind of what Tim
Anderson, yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, like a Tim Anderson type, like a veteran or something like that. I don't think that they're necessarily going to be taking that. Like, I feel like they're going to more likely be taking a pitch. But you have a guy like this who, has been on an incredible hot streak and doesn't know what the future may hold for him. Maybe this guy may be getting flipped at the deadline for somebody. Like, he has no idea what his future is going to be. And if you're him in that mindset, it's just like, I have to take advantage of every single chance I get, because if I don't, I could be back down in the minors tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah, like it's not a guy like Anthony Rizzo who knows, hey, if I take this pitch and I like don't really care this at bat, I'm gonna be fine. Like he has a little bit more job security because of these immense success that he's had. But if he goes on a kind of a if he starts to kind of spiral out after this, it's just like, all right, well, then that was it for him. And I think it just shows, like, when it comes to Tony La Russa, man, I was mixed on Tony La Russa coming back into sports. And I mentioned this to you before the show because, Tony La Russa left baseball in relatively one of the best ways you can. I mean, he had kind of mixed success all throughout his career, had kind of a very nice tenure throughout his time in the MLB. And he goes out on top with the St. Louis Cardinals as a world champion and, retires after that and goes into the Hall of Fame a couple years later. And, he's a Hall of Famer. People love the guy, and he was working at front offices throughout all of baseball. Then he decides he wants to come back to baseball and wants to go with the White Sox, gets in trouble for a DUI and an attempt to get out of it, flashes his World Series rings to try to say, hey man, like, come on, I'm Tony La Russa here. And the cops were like, we don't care. You're still driving under the influence. And there were just so many things with this guy, because it's like, now he's just becoming like this old grandpa. And I know that you didn't want to mention it before the show, but he's now literally Chicago's version of Bobby Valentine with the Red Sox. The only difference though is that the White Sox are winning. And it looks like, and in my opinion, I feel like they're winning in spite of him, because, the 2012 Red Sox, I feel like there was just, I mean, they were a competing team and fell apart, just due to,
They
the whole
sucked.
chicken and beer incident and that whole, the 2011 Red Sox, how they just had that dramatic collapse. And then 2012, all that toxicity just continued, and Bobby Valentine just kind of made it worse. And, we were able to bounce back in 2013 with a kind of whole new cast of characters. We all know the story there, but,
Mm-hmm.
you know, if this White Sox team was kind of in third place with the talent they had, Tony La Russa would be out the door. So he's lucky he has a job right now, because, I think frankly, if the White Sox, I don't think they're going to miss the playoffs, but if they kind of fall short of their playoff expectations, I don't know what would stop them from trying to get a new guy in there to maybe to say, hey guys, do like a John Farrell to Alex Cora situation. You were having success with John Farrell in 2016-17, making to the playoffs. But you know what, Alex Cora, we're gonna get you in here, and you're gonna ride this thing out for us. And that took us to a championship in 2018. I wouldn't blame the White Sox one bit if they try to do that next offseason, because it looks like even some of those tenured players on the White Sox, or at least with La Russa, don't even seem to be respecting him, because one of my brother's personal friends, and one of mine as well, Josh Jenkins. He has a game today at Sutton High School, so I wish him the best of luck there. But he sent me a DM and said, and he wanted me to talk about La Russa on the show, which I was going to anyways. But he even came out and he showed me an article, and it was from Bleacher Report, and apparently Lance Lynn, who, for anyone who doesn't know Lance Lynn, he's a very tenured, long tenured pitcher throughout the MLB. He's been with multiple organizations. Of those organizations, it includes the St. Louis Cardinals at the same time when Tony La Russa was managing there. So, La Russa and Lance Lynn, they actually have kind of a history with each other. They've known each other throughout their time, and it seems like they have at least some sort of respect for each other, at least they did. And you know and apparently, Lance Lynn tries to go to Tony La Russa, fairly recently after this whole situation. He tries to tell him that, and he tries to basically tell him, listen, coach, those whole unwritten rules in baseball that, we all kind of talk about, those are kind of going away. It's a new age for baseball. People want to see the kids play. People want to kind of see all this. People want to kind of see the fun action. People want to see the bat flips. And apparently La Russa comes out, and for one of his most tenured, longest knowing players, he comes out and he says, Lance has a locker. I have an office. I don't agree. I think the unwritten rule should stay around. I mean, like the last bit, I'm kind of paraphrasing there, but apparently he did come out and he did say Lance has a locker. I have an office, so I have the final say. And, here's the thing. I'm the type of person where I am a traditionalist in baseball to an extent, because like, I don't want to see rules like the pitch clock come in. I don't want to see like all these kind of changes to baseball. And I also don't want to see players get too big ahead where like they completely, take over an organization, and that's where it becomes. But I mean, this is just really out of touch at this point, because I feel like, have a pulse with your players, especially one that you've had such a long history with. And it just shows a lack of respect that this guy has.
Mm-hmm. No, and I completely agree with that. And what he said, he has a locker, I have an office. I completely get that. You have the final say, but you need to keep up with the times of baseball. Baseball is a game that doesn't wait around for anyone. You have to adapt with the game. You don't try and change the game. You just adapt with it. And he's trying to keep back the game, and that's going to kill them.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and here's the thing. I don't actually hate kind of old hardo coaches and stuff like that, and like some of the old time coaches. But I mean, it's kind of the idea of having a pulse, like with your team. Like if like this isn't going to go over well with them, and like you're not going to be able to rally the troops in that sort of a way, then you kind of do have to adapt. And I kind of wish that there were more coaches, maybe not like in a Tony La Russa sense, but guys where they could say like, hey, what I say, like, we're going to like establish a culture here, and it's going to be like very straightforward. And, I don't know. It's such a confusing situation for me, because I've always, never wanted the players to get too big and out of hand. But I feel like when coaches are coming out and they're not even defending their own players when teams are throwing at them, that's bad, in my opinion. Like, you'll probably remember this situation. You remember back in 2013 when Dempster threw at A-Rod?
Yep.
What were your thoughts on that whole situation?
Ugh, that was so long ago. I barely remember it, but with what you're saying, like with throwing at someone, the manager should be the first person to say, that's not how we do things.
Yes.
And especially with that, like you, I'm not sure if we were saying this before we recorded or during recording, but with pitchers, right, all they care about is velocity now. They don't really know about their control. If you're aiming behind somebody, what's stopping that ball from slipping out of your hand and going Kevin Pillar style on this man's face? Have you seen Kevin
or
Pillar?
Bryce
His
Harper
nose
style.
is at 3 different angles.
Yeah.
It makes me
No,
upset.
his nose literally looks like it looks like a bendy straw at this point. It's disgusting, actually, and I feel terrible for him at this point. It's awful. It's
R.I.P. Kevin
awful,
Pillar.
and I feel really no R.I.P. Seriously, I feel terrible for the guy. He looks awful. I mean, he would have to agree. I think too. He looks awful. And the reason I brought up A-Rod kind of a second ago was, Ryan Dempster back in 2013, after A-Rod comes back off the steroids and, and comes off his whole like year-long suspension, he comes back into baseball. And, he ends up and A-Rod comes up to the plate in Boston for like the first time, since the suspension, and he gets plunked. And, they throw at him and he actually gets hit. And, like everyone in Boston was cheering. I was kind of jeery for it at the time. I kind of liked it because I was like this young Boston fan. But something I did realize in the situation that, I thought was ridiculous at the time, but, it's the idea of a manager having your back. Joe Girardi, the Yankees manager, when that whole situation went down, he was the first guy out of the dugout yelling at the umps. And I mean, as a Red Sox fan back then, I was like, oh, kick him out too, like make it this whole situation. But kind of looking back on it, whether I do not like respect I did not respect A-Rod as a player or anything like that. But seeing Joe Girardi come out like that, even when he probably knew that A-Rod, throughout his history was probably in the wrong, he came out and he defended him for it. When players even if your player is in the wrong, and like you said, the only exception is if they're dead wrong, come out and defend them. Like try to make some sense of it. Like, and I mean, it's not always going to play off well. Like maybe sometimes you're going to look like Don Mattingly defending Jose Urena when he plunks Ronald Acuna. Maybe you're going to look like that guy. But it is the idea of like trying to, hold out and, be your guy and respect you and, defend your players.
Exactly. Can you still hear me? Because I changed some of my
Yeah.
settings. Okay. Good.
Oh yeah. You sound fine.
Okay, good.
Yeah, no, you're fine. We were trying. I know. I know. Before the show, we were trying to like figure out your audio. I had you put like a sock over your microphone, trying to figure some stuff out there. But yeah, you sound fine.
No, I switched some of the settings on my mic, so now there's less echo, so you won't hear motorcycles passing through on the street.
Okay. Yeah, it does kind of sound like you may have turned your mic. It sounds like you're on your computer mic now, but I'm not too sure. But you sound fine though.
It's not on my computer mic. Does it sound quiet?
Yeah, it sounds pretty quiet. So maybe I actually just did it. So, but
what if
that's
better?
But I mean, there's more static there, but you'd sound fine anyways. I would just say go back. Yeah, you're fine.
Right.
Yeah, you're fine.
What we got next?
You're chilling. You're chilling. All right. Yeah. Sorry. That was just something I really wanted to cover on the show, and I'm glad that we did. But something else I wanted to cover was Albert Pujols is now a member of the Los Angeles Dodgers. He's going to be wearing number 55 with those guys. How are you feeling about this?
First of all, the number sucks. All right. We'll start there.
Oh, yeah. 55? Like, really?
55 is gross. All right.
Terrible.
Who's wearing number 5?
It's terrible.
Is it Corey Seager? Corey Seager's either wearing 5 or 6.
Yeah.
You give your number up.
He's wearing 5.
You give your number up for a legend. You say, you know what? If this is going to be a half year where he could potentially win a championship with us, let me go wear number like 27 for a minute. I don't know. I'm just throwing a random number. Let me go wear 27
or 25. Yeah.
Let me just do that, and let me give the legend his respect. You don't make a legend come into.
No, I see that.
Have a different number. Second off, I get you're still in Los Angeles. You just got to go back to the Cardinals. The Cardinals are one of the best teams in baseball right now. They can potentially make a playoff run now that they have Nolan Arenado, and he openly came out and said, I will have a lesser role and be more a player mentor if I go to the Cardinals, and I am okay with that. And they still didn't get a deal done, and that makes me upset.
It's ridiculous, but I don't know how much Albert has left. I do wonder, how much he's going to be able to contribute there. I know he did get an RBI the other night, was able to start his first game, on the active roster. So it'll be interesting to see how they use a 41-year-old first baseman with a terrible lower half at this point in his career. That's not on him. That's just injuries.
Yep.
But it will be interesting to see how he's utilized. That was something I wanted to cover really quick. It was something I was going to get into a whole lot more on this program, but I know we spent a lot of time talking about Mercedes.
Yeah.
So some other stuff I wanted to cover. I believe we missed out on covering this on your show, but something that's really exciting for us Boston sports fans. I know you may be bummed out about this because you went back because now you're back in Tennessee,
I'm upset.
but Fenway Park, baby, is going to be open to 100% on May 29th, and I cannot wait.
I have mixed feelings.
Yeah.
Nothing health guidelines wise, because they did their part in following all the health guidelines, making sure everyone was safe and all of that X, Y, and Z. But with new information coming out about the CDC telling us if you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask anymore. You go to as big as gatherings as you want. You can trust the vaccine. With that coming out, great. Open it 100%. I'm happy about that. I'm happy that now for the first time Alex Verdugo is going to be in front of an insanely loud Boston crowd for the first time ever, and
I hope they love him. I think they are.
We all do. I hope he loves the big crowd, and he just is that energy spark that we need. But I hate it because it had to come 3 weeks after I moved back from Tennessee, or moved back to Tennessee. It's great, and I'm not coming back up to Boston anytime soon because, like I said, I'm graduated. So I'm upset. The one game I went to, it was 12% capacity, and I overpaid the living crap out of seats just to be able to go watch a game.
Jesus, that is tough.
I sat in a folding chair. They had 2 separate seats. So the place that I sat in, they had 2 seats. Here, then a couple feet, then here, then a couple feet, then here. And I'm just like, it's perfect. Just use those 2 seats. You don't even need to tie up any more seats. And those sets are already social distance. They zip tied one of the seats, used one of them, and had the second one be a folding chair. I'm like, why? What's the purpose?
It makes no sense. I mean,
So I paid over $100 some odd per seat for me to sit in a folding chair and watch a game.
That's ridiculous, man. I mean, I was lucky enough to go to the Worcester Red Sox game not too long ago. Managed to get myself a nice piece of merchandise. This will go up on my bat wall, which I collect many mini bats, so that'll go up there when I very soon whenever I can get the nails to put that up. And it was a very similar situation. Like they had for us that was weird because like they had like 5 like unzip tied seats, and then like on the very end like one seat was zip tied. I was like, why?
Why?
it made no sense. It wasn't like every other, and like it was like, okay, like you're making an effort. Like literally 5 seats were like unzip tied, and then like there was one at the very end. I was like, this shouldn't even be like this. This is ridiculous.
You know where I gotta go sometime
Where?
very soon while I'm still in Tennessee. I go down. I gotta go east to Greensville. I gotta get to a drive game.
Yeah.
Because I got a couple boys who playing over there that I need to go. I need to go visit. Had them on the show, met them virtually, but I want to go meet them in person.
That's sick.
Christian Koss, one of the funniest dudes. He's got such a personality to him.
Really?
Brendan Salucci is very humble. Who else? Zach Bryant, who was on Section 10. If anyone remembers him from that show. And then who am I forgetting? Oh, Cole Brandon. Yeah, Cole Brandon, and we talked about him on my. I don't want to.
Yeah,
I don't want to get back into that.
Yeah, no, it's all good. But obviously, a bunch of boys down there, and that would be exciting to go see them play. Obviously, I might be heading south this summer too, because I know my brother's college prospect team. They might be going to North Carolina. Might try to check out a Durham Bulls game. Try to check out some stuff going on down there, dude. It's a minor league stadium, and I like to travel and go to all these different areas. I don't care that
Greensville.
I don't. Yeah, sure.
Let me know when you're coming down, and I'll take a 4-hour trip to go check out a drive game.
4 hours? That's insane.
Yeah, it's about 4 hours east.
That's rough.
That's not bad.
I
would have to get a hotel to stay at for the night, because I'm not driving back.
Yeah, very
late.
True.
But actually, if it's an afternoon game, if it's like a 1:00 game, I leave here at about 7-8 in the morning. Go there, enjoy the game, leave at about 5, be back here by about 9-10 o'clock.
Actually, not the worst.
It's a lot better than having to take 17 hours to get back home.
That's
a 1,000-mile trip.
Did you have to stay the night with that, or did you just drive straight through the night?
I left Dean College at 12:30 in the morning, and I got here a little after 4:30 in the afternoon.
That's insane.
Bro, I was speeding down the highway. Like I said, I cut off a full hour of travel, which was
Jesus. That's actually crazy.
hauling
That,
it.
that is nuts. Holy crap.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
It's a
but
nice
yeah,
strip
no.
though.
Oh yeah, no, and I think the final thing in MLB news that we can talk about on the show, we mentioned it briefly on your show. Actually, I don't know if we mentioned it on your show or just beforehand. But the Miami Marlins, they'll be joining the Boston Red Sox as the second team of 7, I believe, to get a City Connect jersey from Nike.
Mm-hmm.
Nike for anyone who doesn't know around the MLB, they've been making like all sorts of new jerseys for kind of teams, and it's very different from from the typical styles you'll see of these teams. Like Boston's jersey was yellow and blue to represent the marathon, and and it was like very different. I mean, I remember it was trending on Twitter. And the Miami Marlins jerseys, you have some thoughts on the Boston jerseys?
I'm giving it a 5 out of 10. I
Yeah,
like it. I don't like the Red Sox wearing yellow and blue.
I think here's the thing: for a weekend, I'm fine with it. For a weekend, it's fine. If you were wearing it like the Friday night Fenway red jerseys, I'd say like, okay, maybe we don't do this all the time, but you do it for marathon weekend. I like it. I like it for what it is, for
Yeah.
what it is. But then the Miami Marlins also just got some new jerseys. They ended up getting these really nice red and blue jerseys. And apparently it's supposed to represent like the 1950s Sugar Kings and like the Latin influence in the area. And they're actually surprisingly nice jerseys. You had said like these shouldn't work, but they really do. And like
Mm-hmm.
the colors just pop. And I can't wait to see these actually like in play because I don't know if I'd be getting a jersey, but I really like the caps that they have. I like the caps. The caps are actually kind of sick because like it's like this crown logo, and then it says like MM for Miami Marlins, and it looks pretty sick.
Mm-hmm.
Like if there's any piece of that merch that I'd get, it'd be that. Some people were wondering if they were going to bring back the like a Miami Vice type of look, like what the Heat had, but unfortunately are now going to be losing soon, which is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's going to be a really good look. I can't wait to see the Marlins wear that.
No, let me just say this about those jerseys. Like you said, it shouldn't work, but it does. And if
Mhm.
you were to sit here and just describe the jersey to me, I would say it sounds worse than the Mavs City jerseys. You know the ones I'm talking about?
The green ones.
The the blue ones with the um
Oh yeah.
with like the straight graffiti font,
Oh,
those
I know.
terrible
Yeah, I
ones.
know what you're talking about. Yeah,
I
yeah,
thought it would have been worse than that.
yeah.
But then you look at it and it's like, oh, that's amazing.
It's actually
Like
clean.
that's a 9 out of 10 in my book.
I really like it. I
Very
really like
solid.
those. And apparently there are going to be 5 more of those released this year. I can't wait to see what teams they are. I don't know what they would. I mean, the Red Sox, that was quite the change. I don't know if they did that for the Yankees. I don't know like what. I mean, it'd be crazy to see the Yankees abandon the pinstripes. Like
I
that would be
think
something.
I think they would go a black jersey with white pinstripes, something
Ooh,
along those lines.
that'd be
And
very
honestly,
interesting.
it might be clean.
That might
Like
look actually kind of cool.
as much as I hate the Yankees, that might be a clean jersey.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Bruins reverse retros where they wear the yellow and like all the colors are kind of like flipped. That'd be
Yep.
kind of an interesting look to see. I will give you that.
I mean, I'd be down to see that.
I mean, not down to wear it, but down to see
Oh,
it.
absolutely not. But
Yeah,
down to see it,
exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. And that kind of concludes what we have in MLB news. In NFL news, there are only 2 kind of big subjects I wanted to cover, and that is the Patriots actually are bringing back quarterback Brian Hoyer to the
Fourth
team.
time.
Don't know why this is happening, and you got right into it. And you mentioned this is the 4th time they're bringing him back, but he's also now going to be the 4th quarterback in that quarterback room. And it's now going to contain Mac Jones, Cam Newton, Jarrett Stidham, and now Hoyer is back in the mix. And listen, I know that Belichick loves Hoyer because like for a long time that he was Brady's trusty backup, and he Belichick probably had some faith that he could plug him into a system, and he had some success as a starter once he left the Patriots. But God, like this guy does not have it anymore. We saw him against the Kansas City Chiefs, and it was a brutal. It literally looks like a car crash in slow motion. The man cannot throw a football over 15 yards. It is
Mhm.
brutal to watch.
Yeah, I agree, but in some ways he doesn't necessarily have the ability, but he has that mentorship and that leadership that is
Yeah.
very good for a quarterback room. Something that I believed helped Cam Newton somewhat over this past year, even though we only threw 2 touchdowns at Gillette. But something that could really help a young Mac Jones who still has all of his athleticism and has really got a high potential. which something Brian Hoyer can really help with. The problem that I have is this is QB4.
Yeah.
You only get 53 spots.
Exactly. And the thing, I mean, obviously when it's training camps like this, you do have like 90 spots and you have like a bunch of like guys that you can mess around with. So it's possible Hoyer's maybe even cut before the end of training camp. Like we don't know what this is going to look like. And I doubt the Pats are going to carry 4 quarterbacks. And with that being said, I'm just like, does this mean that Bill might eat the money from Cam Newton and just say like, all right, Mac Jones is the guy if we really like him out the gate? I doubt that's going to be the case. The what really intrigues me is that if Bill decides to hold on to Brian Hoyer, what does the future look like for Jarrett Stidham? Now the future for Jarrett Stidham already doesn't look great because it looks like we drafted the guy who, will be his replacement and, the future at this point. But it does make me wonder, could Jarrett Stidham be cut at the end of this training camp? Because, as of last year, going into the season last year, people were like, oh, this is going to be Jarrett Stidham's team. And then once they got Cam Newton, it was like, oh, Cam's got this thing. Like, oh, Cam's the starter. Jarrett will be the backup. But then we bring in Brian Hoyer, and some games Jarrett doesn't even suit up. And I'm just wondering at this point, this guy went from possibly being the heir to Tom Brady to possibly being cut by the end of next training camp, and that really intrigues me.
So here's the thing: Stidham was supposed to be Jimmy G 2.0.
Mm-hmm.
We can all agree with that. That was his projection.
He was supposed to be. He was supposed to be Jimmy G 1.5. I don't think saying 2.0 because listen, Jimmy G was a second round pick and when they made the selection, I was like, wow, they're like really being serious here at quarterback because like they're going out and they're getting a guy pretty early. And then when they went to draft Jarrett Stidham in the year before Brady left, I was like, okay, it looks like they're just getting like a really solid backup, like a Brian Hoyer kind of type. And I was like, maybe he has tremendous promise and maybe Bill can really, work this guy into being the future. But, my ceiling for him was never Jimmy G like height. I was always, more skeptical of him working out. But it does, amaze me how quickly it went from this guy is going to be the heir to Tom Brady. He's going to lead us to the future, into the promised land to, yeah, he does not have anything. He really can't play football at the level we thought.
Mm-hmm. But I honestly don't think he's going to be cut. I think the Packers or the Texans or the Broncos or maybe the Bengals will pick him up for a 6th round pick and call it a day. And I think his future just isn't there. I mean, we have a younger, better version of Stidham and Mac Jones. Cam Newton has already proven that he can be. I think this is going to sound bad, but I think Cam Newton is going to turn into the next Nick Foles.
Really?
Situational quarterback that you can bring in that can handle almost any pressure-filled situation, but not good enough to be your full-time guy. Just situational. And I mean, let's be honest, Nick Foles is the exact definition of that. Yeah. I think Cam Newton can prove as a serviceable quarterback for anybody and be a very, very good situational quarterback, not somebody who can be put in there all times just because he is too predictable going throughout the game.
That is an interesting prediction that you have for Cam Newton going forward. I will be interesting to see how that unfolds. But I hope that Mac Jones does get in relatively early and we get to see what he can do. I really do wonder what Cam Newton's future is going to be here in New England. But some other news around the NFL that that we will cover as that whole situation unfolds up here is Kelvin Benjamin. Do you remember Kelvin Benjamin?
Yep, Chiefs wideout, right?
Former Chiefs, Bills, Panthers wideout. So I actually used to catch some passes from Cam Newton. He had been out of the league since 2018, actually. And when he was on, Kelvin Benjamin was one of the kind of more underrated but still pretty solid receivers throughout all football. It was like, oh, like Kelvin Benjamin, like he's kind of legit. Like for his first couple years in the league, he was really solid, and then started to slow down a little bit, kind of became more of like a 3 receiver, and then kind of really just fell out of favor. But now he's actually coming back to the league, and it looks like he's going to be coming back as a tight end, and that is hilarious in my mind because it became like kind of a running joke that Kelvin Benjamin was like eating himself into becoming a tight end. And now he's just officially kind of embracing the role. And he had just signed with the New York Giants to possibly be a tight end. And this is actually funny in my mind because it's like kind of like an Eddie Lacy situation with Green Bay. It's just, I can't believe that this guy actually ate so much that he actually has to now change positions.
I don't think that's the key. I think that the game, you know how we talked about the game of baseball evolving?
Yeah.
The game of football is evolving with the tight end position,
Mm-hmm.
right? Let's look at some of the best tight ends over the past couple of years, right? Gronk, Jimmy Graham, Travis Kelce, George Kittle, Mike Gesicki. Yeah, I love Mike Gesicki.
That one kind of felt like a bit of a stretch. I mean, Gesicki's great. Gesicki's
a top tight end in the league right now.
Oh, he's great, but I was like,
putting him with those names, yeah.
I was like, there is some favoritism right there. There has to be.
No, and I'm saying like guys like Mark Andrews also. What do all these guys have in common? What are they known for in their tight end position? They are known for being good route runners and have hands like silk. All right. They can catch the ball. They're very good at catching the ball. They are lethal weapons for any quarterback. And that's what the tight end position is really going into. I mean, think about it with none of those guys are really known for being run blockers. Yeah. You don't really need to be a run blocker. You don't even need to be a pass blocker because most NFL playbooks have a lot of tight end routes now. You don't really block that much as a tight end anymore. You're just crazy. A bigger guy who can match up well against the safety. Mm-hmm. If that's the case, why can't we just have some of our bigger wide receivers who are still decently fast line up at tight end and be able to work that way?
Yeah, and maybe at the same time you can actually kind of have your smaller tight ends maybe act more like in a wide receiver role. Like I know up in New England we have a ton of tight ends right now, and
none good.
Besides, well now we have Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith. Yeah, well we just got those, but I'm just
never mention the name Devin Asiasi to me again. That's all I'm gonna say.
Listen about Devin Asiasi. This is my prediction. No. So he's going to be probably our third tight end on the team, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like Dalton Keene is gone. Matt Lacoste probably gone. Yeah. Ryan Izzo not even on the team anymore. Like after Gronk left, we really went off a cliff. God damn.
I'll watch Ryan Izzo sell real estate in about a year and a half.
Probably. But I was seeing the whole tight end situation up in New England, and while Devin Asiasi didn't get a lot of time last year, I was seeing him at Pats West, which was the training camp that the Patriots were doing during the offseason out in California. And something that really intrigues me would be if I was seeing Devin Asiasi, and he's a pretty skinny guy. Like he's not like built like a traditional tight end. He's kind of more like a wide receiver. Yeah. So if he, slimmed down and became more kind of like a bulky kind of wideout, maybe like a 50-50 ball kind of guy, like a Des Bryant type, that could really be a solid weapon that I think could help us. And, maybe and I'm saying like change up what he is positionally. Mm-hmm. That I think has some promise.
And I mean, we're still slim at wide receiver based on like real talent.
So that's what I'm saying. That's why I think that could help.
We brought in Aguilar, we brought in Kendrick Bourne. Is that his name?
Kendrick Bourne, yeah. Yep. He really excites me. I mean, he's like 23 years old, and I think he could take over the Edelman role possibly. He's either going to do that or he's just going to be like some special team.
He's going to be in N'Keal Harry. Bust.
No, he's not built like N'Keal Harry. He's built more like an Edelman type where he's kind of like shifty and can do stuff like that. So I think if he can be like a younger Edelman, that could really be great for us.
I would really hope so. But I mean, we're basically good everywhere else. Defense is still solid. Gilmore's going into those regression years, but he's not there yet. Mm-hmm. The majority of our defense is back. Not to Hightower, I believe, is back, right?
Yeah, he'll be back next year off the COVID list. Yeah.
Yep. So, and I mean, even our special teams is good. I mean, we have a Pro Bowl kick returner and punt returner with Gunnar Olszewski. We got a good team around it. We just need wideouts, and we need one of those two QBs to be able to lead us to the promised land. And that's all we need. Use a running back because Sony Michel kind of fell off.
But James White is still there. Damian Harris is still promising. So that we at least still have some options. We did get a guy in the draft who really could be the next Garrett Blunt for us. I think his name is like Deshaun Stevenson. I forget what his name is. He really is intriguing to me.
Mm-hmm. No, I can't wait to see what this team does.
I can't wait to see what this team does too. But that concludes what we have in NFL news. In NBA, I'm only going to talk about two of the three things that I wanted to get to today. I'm going to talk about Jayson Tatum dropping 50 points last night on the Washington Wizards. Whoo, let's go. Boston, baby. I am so pumped to see it. Tatum, thank you very much. I was for anyone who is maybe watching this after Robert's show, I was very nervous about with Jayson Tatum and how the Celtics were going to do this postseason. And I was kind of down about it, and I was almost saying, the quicker they can get out of this situation, the quicker Danny Ainge can fix this.
Mm-hmm.
But kind of now seeing what Tatum did last night, it kind of gave me a bit of a new perspective, where now it kind of allows me to say, like, where it kind of now makes me think, if Tatum can go into this thing and he can maybe, drop and he can have some experience against teams like the Nets, and maybe he's not gonna, they're not, let's face it, we're probably not going to get past the Nets, unfortunately.
I think it's in 5, yeah.
Yeah, it's probably that's probably a good bet. But even if that's the case, you're still going to get Jayson Tatum in these high marquee games, which helps him out, which helps his development out a lot, especially with Jaylen Brown out of the lineup. He's going to have to do he's going to have to do a lot of things himself, and I think it's going to test a lot of his leadership and what he is and what he has as a player. And I think that's pretty good for him.
Mm-hmm. Now, first of all I was thinking is I couldn't watch the game, so I woke up and I saw it. I'm just like,
we'll take it.
There goes that man.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
50.
dropping 50 on them. Jayson Tatum is a grown man. He's only 19.
It's insane. Insanity,
bro. He's got a Hall of Fame future.
He has an amazing future ahead of him, and he just needs to stay healthy. Just stay healthy, man.
It all depends on what happens with the team.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter. He's already proven that he can have the individual success. It's just where can that individual success turn into team success?
Yeah. Now we need Danny Ainge to go out, and we need him to get these guys some help. Mm-hmm. We need help with this team. We need a big man. Frankly, we haven't had a legit big man since like Kendrick Perkins. I mean, I know
That's
Kevin Garnett.
Not even. No.
I'm just, and I'm not even saying Kendrick Perkins was like a staple big man for us, but I'm just like, we haven't had like a legit center. Like the big ticket for us, Kevin Garnett, he was a power forward. Mm-hmm. So we haven't had like a legit center in like years at this point.
No, and like, we really never have, because you're right. The last legit one was Kendrick Perkins and Big Baby Davis. Mm-hmm. But even then, I'm not. We've been
rolling with that. Yeah, we've been rolling like with Al Horford, and like Horford's great. Yeah, Horford's great, but he's a power forward, playing center. Like we haven't had a legit center in so long, and it's gotten so bad. I mean, like I remember, back in like 2018 or something like that, we brought in Greg Monroe from the Bucks.
He was actually doing pretty good with us.
That's what I'm saying, and it was like, hey, we got Greg Monroe, we got a center, we got somebody, But it's just like when we're only taking Greg Monroe, and that's like the big move at center we're making. It's like we need to do more, and it's become apparent at this point.
If we're talking about 2015 Greg Monroe,
then we're rolling.
I'm happy.
I'll take
2018 Greg Monroe, no, absolutely not. Gross.
Absolutely. But I will be excited to see what Jayson Tatum can do against the Nets. I think this is going to be some good experience for him. I think similar kind of experience to what he had against LeBron. His rookie season in the Eastern Conference Finals. I think that's some good experience and some good stuff for him to possibly, learn some more. And, he's still pretty young, can, still get that experience against a super team. He's going to really have to learn how to battle. And maybe it's, I mean, I'm not trying to compare what he is as a player, but, maybe him getting beat up by like a Nets team like this could be kind of what could be kind of equivalent to what a Michael Jordan had to face when he got beat up by the bad boy Pistons during his early days.
No,
he had to face those guys who absolutely ran roughshod over him, and eventually he was able to shine and become the great player we all know him to be. Maybe this could be that for Jayson Tatum as well.
Here's the thing. I think this team is going to be exactly like 2018. Mm-hmm. All right. 2018 was a year plagued with injuries. The team was supposed to be great with Kyrie and Gordon Hayward joining the team, with a rookie Jayson Tatum and a sophomore year Jaylen Brown. But injury obviously took Gordon Hayward out for the season game 1. About 3/4 of the way in, Kyrie's out for the rest of the year. It's up to a rookie and a sophomore year player to will this team to victory. And guess what? They did it. They were supposed to be underdogs against the
Bucks.
Against the Bucks. They won against the Bucks in 5 or 6.
Well, don't forget Scary Terry.
Scary Terry. Oh, that beautiful man.
I miss that so much.
Drew Bledsoe. He didn't want to be there. That's all I gotta say. And then going up against Philly, they expected, because Philly just chokes. So they were expecting to win that one. And then going against LeBron, they're like, well, they got no one to defend LeBron. This is over on 5. Yet we took it 7. and Jayson Tatum baptized LeBron.
Mm-hmm.
I was over at my friend's house watching the game, and he got up to get a soda and missed the dunk.
I went ballistic on that play.
Oh,
I was through the moon.
Oh, man, that was beautiful.
I mean, obviously we ended up losing the series, but that is something that I will definitely remember as a Celtics fan, seeing Tatum dunk over LeBron. That's when I knew like this guy can be something special.
Not only that, but the confidence just chest bump LeBron after and just be like, "What's
Oh
good?
yeah. I was
What's
like,
good?"
I was like, you got to be kidding me. This is insane.
And then Marcus Morris in the background. Celtics Marcus Morris was a dog.
Yeah. I mean, we had a squad in 2018. Like we had such a squad. I mean, like
2019 we did. That was a team and a half. But
well, no, I'm just saying 2018 because of how far we got.
Yeah.
2019 we failed against the Bucks, and it was actually kind of like it was extremely disappointing. But like that 2018 team where we went out and we were like we were some dogs that year. Like I mean, Scary Terry, all those guys. That was a time.
Mm-hmm. But the thing I was going to say about that is that team was always underdog built. It was a team that was supposed to be good, plagued with injuries, became an underdog, and really thrived as an underdog.
Mm-hmm.
This year, it's the same thing.
Yeah, honestly, that, and kind of thinking about it now, my tide kind of has turned a little bit, and seeing if Jayson Tatum can do this thing and seeing how far he can take this, it really intrigues me. I wish the best for them.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
And so that concludes what we have in that concludes that NBA segment. The other thing I wanted to cover quickly, I was going to talk about Damian Lillard, but I'll talk about that at another time. But kind of a fun pop culture thing I wanted to cover. I don't know if you're a big rap guy. I don't know where you kind of stand with the whole subject. Yeah. All right, but I enjoy some rap. I enjoy some country. I really enjoy anything. But for anyone who didn't see it, the rapper J. Cole recently just released his album, The Off Season.
Mm-hmm.
But the other big news surrounding him was like at the very same time he did it, he also signed with the Basketball Africa League, which is like kind of like a minor leagues for the NBA. It's like out of Africa. And he signed with the Rwanda Patriots. And this man is 36 years old. And he finished his he ended up playing his first game against these guys. He finished with 3 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, and just in under 18 minutes of action with these guys. So he was kind of like in a very limited role.
Yeah.
But did pretty solid, sunk a nice free throw, had some success. I saw another highlight where he actually just had a block in a game, was making some nice plays.
I saw that, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's I'm enjoying this. I mean, he's only gonna play like 3 to 6 games with these guys, so I'm gonna enjoy it while it lasts. Enjoy the highlights. Just I think it's fun to watch.
Here's the thing, right? And no one can deny this. The Rwanda Patriots signed him just for a publicity stunt. Yeah. It's because they were gonna make more money with him there than his contract is gonna be. Doesn't matter how much they were gonna offer him. They were gonna make more just because we have J. Cole on our team.
I mean, you're telling me. I mean, I had no idea Rwanda had a basketball team.
Exactly, it's gonna put butts in seats.
Exactly. Well, when it's when it's quote unquote safe, when it's safe to do so.
Yeah, but virtually, I mean, like people are gonna tune in and watch the games.
Oh, the streams are gonna be insane. Like beforehand, you might have like 10 people watching. Now you might get a couple thousand.
Yep, and that's the thing is they're gonna make more money.
Exactly.
That's the reason they did it. Capitalism always wins. That's how it works. So he's not going to do anything special. He's not going to give you anything that some random 23-year-old kid wouldn't. The only reason he got with a team is because of his name. He gets to live out a slight basketball dream that he's always had. We get to watch a rapper play basketball that's not doing anything great, but still doing okay.
Yeah, I mean, we saw Master P with the Raptors like way back when.
Oh, gross! I remember that.
That was awful.
Mm-hmm. Never sign a rapper to the NBA. Let him go overseas.
Oh yeah, let him go prove himself there. But that kind of concludes what we had in NBA news. Before we do end up going down the wire again, I was gonna have one of my UFC analysts, Steve Musher, on the show to talk about this. But are you do you watch UFC by any means? Okay, so this is something that I'll kind of cover a little bit here, but I will kind of like tell you. I will kind of give you a bit of a rundown with some of this stuff and kind of just kind of see some of your reaction. And one of these things, you will be able to probably talk about with some good detail. and probably will piss you off a little bit. But we start off with UFC 262, which took place over the weekend, like this past Saturday. And Charles Oliveira, ended up defeating Michael Chandler for the lightweight title. The title was actually vacated by Khabib number. I can't even say the last name.
Nurmagomedov?
Yeah,
Something like that?
yeah, it's something like that. I've been able to say it before, but unfortunately, I don't have the name written in front of me. But Khabib held the title and he retired and vacated it, and now Charles Oliveira comes in and he defeats Michael Chandler. And I don't know if you know who Michael Chandler is, because I had no idea who this guy was either. But he fought on the undercard to the McGregor Poirier fight, which took place back in like January, and I had no idea who this guy was. He came in as an unranked fighter, and if you don't know how if you don't have how MMA works, UFC is like the major leagues of all of fighting, but there's like kind of other leagues off of it. So there's like the Bellator league, which you've probably heard of, like Bellator gyms possibly.
Mm-hmm.
This is like a fighting league that's kind of based off that. And instead of fighting in an octagon, they fight in a circle, but it's like very similar kind of rules. This guy kind of fought in this kind of like other league and was like the champion of this league. And he was like he was not necessarily older, but he was like in his 30s at this point. And he was like, all right, I've done all the success I had here. I want to go test myself out in the UFC because I want to see what I have. Mm-hmm. This guy comes in and faced the number 6 at the number 6 ranked fighter at that position. And he comes and first round, he absolutely obliterates this guy and puts him into the canvas. And it was, man, when I watched this thing, it was brutal. But that wasn't the funny part. The funny part was at the end of the fight, he climbs up onto the top like walls of the octagon and proceeds to do a backflip into the arena and almost like broke his legs while doing so. Like this guy literally came down and I was like, if he came down the wrong way, he would have like snapped his legs in half. It would have been disgusting to see. But he comes out there and faces like, Charles Oliveira, who, currently is like the number 1 ranked fighter. And he ended up losing to him, I believe in the second round. And man, it was a brutal kind of knockout to see. Like this guy was like hunkering over. Yeah, he was like hunkering over. And this guy just beat the crap out of him. It was ridiculous. I don't know if you saw it, but it was an ugly looking knockout. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And one of the reasons I wanted to have that my friend Steve Mush on the show for this little bit was actually because he actually knew a fighter who fought this guy Charles Oliveira, and I didn't know too much about Oliveira in general. I thought he was more kind of a submission guy, but he absolutely brutalized this guy. And I did want to cover that really quickly before I did go down the wire. Another thing from UFC 262 I did want to cover was I don't actually know any of these fighters, but too well, but there was another fight on the undercard. This fighter, his name is Edison Barboza. He was fighting this guy Shane Burgos, and I don't know these guys at all. I have no idea who they are. But this was actually insane to me. So these guys are fighting, and this guy Barboza, he hits this guy this guy Shane in the head with like a couple rounds of punches, and he hits him really solid one time, and like even the announcers go like ooh, and he has his hands up and he starts to come forward to like fight him. And then immediately, it's about 5 seconds of him like shuffling forward, and then all at once his body just like shuts down, and like he just passes out on the mat.
Damn.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw this. It was actually insane. Like he just takes a right to the face, and like he backs up and he goes into like shuffle to get ready for like the next like series of strikes. And then all at once he starts to like backpedal, and he just keeps on backpedaling, and he just passes out, and like the ref just calls it at that point.
Jeez.
It was a scary kind of thing to see, because you've seen like there are a couple of delayed reactions where you'll see stuff happen, but like this was some of the most delayed stuff I've ever seen. And like you were trying to hear medical experts break this down, and they were like the brain kind of works in mysterious ways where you might get hit like that, and it just did not register with him for 5 seconds, and then when it did, it was like hey, we got to shut this thing down.
We're going to sleep now.
It was scary to see. Like this guy literally was like up fine, like after taking this hit, and immediately just flatlined. Mm-hmm. Craziness. And it was just insane to see. But the final thing I wanted to mention before we do go down the wire, this is what I think you'll know a little bit more about, just because of the popularity it's gotten so far. And that is the boxing match between Floyd Money Mayweather and the YouTuber Logan Paul. Do you have any initial thoughts on this?
YouTubers are making boxing a joke.
Yeah.
There's no credibility to the sport anymore because of YouTubers thinking they're boxers. Mm-hmm. I hope this fight lasts 15 seconds.
Well, I had those hopes too, but I saw this from Total Pro Sports. They put out like a video of Floyd Mayweather training, and man, he looks freaking slow as hell in this training video. He's like, just getting the rounds off, but like there's like no speed to it. Like guys are trying to like gas him up and all this stuff, but he looks exhausted, man. And it really makes me kind of worried that like Logan Paul might actually go out there and might be able to win against this guy.
That'll piss me off.
It makes me so nervous because like, while I don't like, while Floyd's off the out of sport antics, I do not respect that much, and I do not have a lot of respect for him outside of the sport. This guy is like 50-0 at this point, and he's known for brutalizing his opponents and wearing guys out through defense. I don't know if he's gonna be able to have this, especially with an extreme height disadvantage against Logan Paul. If this gets out of hand, this could I think Logan Paul could, if this is what it looks like, Logan Paul could put a beating on this guy. Which scares me. I do not want to see that whatsoever.
I don't either. That's gonna piss me off.
It scares me so much, and I hope that I hope Floyd, through all the off field antics, I'll just say, for everything he gets into, I hope that isn't all he has left in the tank, because if it is, I probably will call it for Logan. But it was bad to watch. But I hope that it does kind of be a good fight. It's going to take place in Miami. It's going to be I guess a packed stadium of people wanting to see this, which in my mind is insane.
Mm-hmm.
But at this point in time, I believe it is finally time to say that we are now officially down to the wire, which means that we're going to go through everything we talked about in this episode, and we will I'll see you guys probably later this week with an interview I'm planning to do. Obviously obviously we have some other bigger plans coming on. But Rob, before we go down to the wire, is there anything you want to say about your podcast?
Make sure you guys go follow me at Pesky Podcast if you guys are interested in Red Sox news, takes, all that fun stuff. I have had a bunch of guys from the Red Sox team on the show, like we've talked about, including Garrett Whitlock, who is part of the team currently and is kicking
Active
some
roster.
You know what? Best pitcher on our roster. And so if you guys want to see some interviews like that during the offseason and during the season, have me rotate guests like Brian and a bunch of other of my friends and people I've gotten to meet through the podcast, follow me on Spotify, YouTube, iTunes, and Google Play, whichever one is more convenient for you. Like I said on my show, shout out to my couple viewers in Belgium. But
Insane.
make sure you guys go follow that if you are interested in Red Sox news.
Yeah. And with that being said, we are now officially down to the wire. And, obviously we started off this episode talking about a Rap TV post I saw of airlines possibly weighing passengers going forward in the future. I listed my concerns with that, as well as Robert chiming in some of his thoughts there. We then proceeded to go into MLB and discuss the whole situation surrounding Yermin Mercedes and Tony La Russa and kind of the breakdown going on there, as well as Albert Pujols signing with the Los Angeles Dodgers. We also discussed Fenway Park being open to full capacity as of May 29th, and the Miami Marlins getting some fire City Connect jerseys. Very excited to see there. Also in NFL news, we discussed the Patriots re-signing Brian Hoyer and what that means for Jarrett Stidham going forward. And we also discussed Kelvin Benjamin coming back to the league as a tight end and what that means for the position as a whole. In NBA news, we discussed Jayson Tatum dropping 50 and J. Cole, officially now playing in the Basketball Africa League. And in boxing / MMA news, we talked about Charles Oliveira defeating Michael Chandler in the second round of their championship bout in UFC 262, as well as Edison Barboza's extremely delayed response of a knockout against Shane Burgos. And finally, we ended things off talking about Floyd Mayweather's, Floyd Mayweather looking slow in a training video that was kind of posted by Total Pro Sports. If you guys haven't followed us yet on social media, Robert obviously shouted out his social media, but if you're not following Down to the Wire yet, what are you guys doing? You can find us on Spotify, YouTube, Google Podcasts, iTunes, gang. I'm sorry about you guys, but the main hub to get through all of us is our Instagram page. You can find that at down.to-the-wire. Again, at down.to-the-wire. I have something planned for this Friday, which could be a really good episode. I'm really excited for it. I'm not going to spoil anything just yet, but from Down to the Wire, I'm Brian Costa.
I'm Robert Shelley.
And we hope you guys have a great day. We will see you guys next time.
Peace.